Welcome to A Lunch with Biggie, a podcast about small business and creatives sharing their stories and inspiring you. My guest today is an Orlando-based visual artist and curator who likes to perform reverse art heists in the city, all while showing you a little bit of a downtown Orlando POV. Please welcome Sean Donovan, aka SeanDon. What's going on, SeanDon?
Hey, Biggie, I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Thanks. I'm glad we got
Thanks
a
for
chance
having me.
to. You're very welcome. Thank you so much for being on. I always, of course, start the show with the question, what's your go-to lunch or sandwich?
I had to struggle with this for weeks, and I always hate having a favorite. So I'm just gonna necromance, Raised from the Dead. Sandwiches from Orlando Meats with Elliot used to be amazing, and he had a fried lasagna sandwich one time, and he never made it again. And he was like, I was just messing around that day, and I'm like, that was my favorite sandwich. But elsewise, Jam Hot and Kaya collab, El Tinto, Little Giant, Cyward, Red Light Brunch. It's hard for me to pick one.
Love all the different ones, and I also like the fact that you've have a bunch of them that are usually collab ones. So they're special
Yeah.
in the moment type of sandwiches or opportunities that you don't get to have. So it's like you got to jump on it or else you miss it.
And then you enjoy it a little bit more because you know that you can't just get it again, and you stay in the moment, and it's really
Yeah.
nice.
No, I love that, and I do love. I am a big fan of, and I'm super glad that obviously Elliot and I'm all of the gangs from or former Orlando Meets now, obviously
Definitely.
Baba Yaga, yeah, Seth, everyone that's on there is I love the fact that all of them are back with either Red Panda as well as also Baba Yaga, and I just can't get enough of their food. It's pretty ridiculous what they make. So they're like wizards. They
Definitely.
really truly are wizards. So let's talk a little bit about you. Let's talk about art. Tell me, can you tell people a little bit about kind of the art that you like to create?
So generally, I just describe my art as weird and fun, and I use the word weird not as a pejorative. It's something I'm proud of, and I think people should kind of enjoy. And so, as far as the art heist kind of thing that I started last year, heists are my favorite type of movies. And I was just sitting around and I was like, I wish I had some of my art up in some of the places that I love. And so I started making different paintings and then just sneaking them in. That's why I call it a reverse heist. I'm stealing something into a restaurant or a other establishment that I like without permission, and I just throw it up there. So, for instance, this is one. Find it on the camera.
Yep, right there.
That is the first one I did at Edo Boy last January, and I just brought it in my jacket, and I went to the bathroom, had a tack, just stuck it on the wall, and I left. And everyone knows me there pretty well, and it was 30 minutes later, they're like, "SeanDon, did you do this?" And I was like, "Yeah."
So when you decided to do this, was this something that you've seen at other places, like other reverse art heists, seen at other places, or you just kind of one day were like, hey, I just want to have my art, and then you were just inspired to kind of do it?
Yeah, just inspired to do it on my own. I am a fan of Banksy, and some people connected to that. But when I started doing it, I wasn't even thinking about that. But I was just enjoying Boy. It's one of my favorite restaurants. One night, and I see their little decorations that they have up, and I think some people donate little miniatures and stuff. And I was like, I kind of want to do that, but I want to do it different in my way. Weird.
Okay. And then what about so how many have you done so far? Because I think I want to say it's 11, but I want to just confirm that. How many have you done so far?
I've done 11 so far. What's kind of ironic is that with Edo Boy, I did 2 because about 2 months after I put that little sushi piece I just showed in, Chef Tyler reached out to me on Instagram. And he was like, "Yo, man, I'm sorry, but your piece got stolen." So I stole art in, someone stole it out. And I feel like it's just the cycle of life. And it was a little disappointing, but I'm like, someone enjoyed it. But at the same time, I was like, please don't steal it. So next time I came back into Edo Boy a few weeks later, Chef Tyler was like, "Do you have another one?" And I patted my jacket where I was hiding it. I was like, "Yeah, I got you."
So okay, so obviously you're picking places that you love. So it's kind of almost like a show of love for places that you love going to, and that's why you're creating this, which I think is great. And so there's obviously they know who you are and everything like that. Have you had experiences where maybe how do they react afterwards, or how do they react, how long does it usually take them to react to see if it comes up or something like that? Because you are putting something on their wall or putting something in their place, and obviously it's beautiful. All of them are fun, But I'm just kind of curious, like, have you had negative reactions or has it been mostly positive? How's the reaction been?
Mostly positive, and for a lot of places. All right, so the reactions have been really positive, and sometimes it takes places weeks to find it as well. Like I did one at Deli Desires. I just snuck it in their lobby. It was one of their like iconic coffee cups, and I did 2 frames, and the coffee was just spilling on the counter. Took Corey and Elise a little while to find that one, and I put one up at a la carte. And April, one of the owners, she'd been asking me for a while if I was ever gonna like hit them with a reverse heist, and I feel like if they ask, I don't want to do it because I want it to be a surprise. And so, like 2 weeks later, I talked to her about it, and she was like really happy. I made it like a Nickelodeon style theme with their logo, because I'm not like really into the parks here, but Nickelodeon I always associate with Orlando growing up, and a la carte is so much like Orlando culture that I felt like it was appropriate.
Which a la carte did you do it at?
It's a la carte city, the
Okay.
downtown location.
Yeah, yeah, very nice.
I
That would
did
make
have a
sense.
negative experience though. Not with a la carte, but with my apartment complex where I'm filming right now. I used to work at UCF and my office was under construction. And I had a painting I made with a UCF Pegasus logo and it was shiny and like really cool looking. And since I had to work from home for like 3 months, I put it up in this room that I work out of. And it stayed up for like 2 weeks. And then I heard someone come through on an apartment tour and they're like, wow, awesome, a UCF painting. And then I went to the bathroom and I came back and it was gone. The apartment complex stole it. They said it didn't go with their aesthetic.
Wow. Okay.
But it turned out to be a cool story anyways, because we had like a resident like business event, and my girlfriend and I posted up with a whole bunch of our paintings. I ended up actually selling that to a resident, and they could have just had it for free forever. I would have just like left it here even if I moved, but then I ended up making a little bit of money off of it. So that's what I like about the heist is like the stories of it.
Yeah, it's a win-win on that. I love that. What
Mhm.
have you had any cases where people have like looked at seen the art and they find out it's you and then reached out to you and said, "Hey, I love what you did at Deli Desires. I want one of those," or "I love what you did at Edo Boy. Can you make me one?" Or are you like is that something that you're also doing as well?
That's a good question. I actually, after my sushi painting got stolen, I posted it again online and I was like, please don't steal this. If you want one, just please reach out to me. And I actually had someone who followed me on my Downtown POV account where I'm anonymous on. And he was like, I would like to buy one. So we met like for drinks downstairs and I sold him one of those. And so that was like a really cool situation too, because I got to connect with someone in the city for something they really liked. And so that's an example of someone actually reaching out to ask for one.
No, I think that's fantastic because I mean it is super like they're so great. I love seeing where you're putting them and what and the fact that you're tying them in so it's like it's not like you're just randomly putting art in. You're putting art based on the location and what the place that you're going to. Do you have other places that you're considering doing reverse art heists to? You don't have to tell me where they are because I want you to be they're obviously like a secretive drops, but just kind of curious if you have other locations or other ones that you're thinking of.
Yeah, I'm just going to keep it quiet for now. But I do got like a list of locations. There's a lot of places I love in Orlando. And sometimes I have to like wait for the inspiration to hit me. And so like I have to make it feel right because I never like forcing art. I always like art to just feel natural. And so like I'll just have like an afternoon or an evening eating out somewhere. I'm gonna be like, okay, that's the spot I'm gonna sneak it into. And this is what I'm gonna do. And I'll take a note and I'll go home that weekend and make it. And then I'll just wait for the next time and figure out how to smuggle it in.
I saw one of them. You got help from the staff on one. I think on from one of the ones I saw. So is that sometimes like a thing where you're kind of like, hey, since you frequent some of these places, you kind of feel like, hey, I'm kind of I may need a little assistance here to get this in here so it's like it fits in a good spot in the place.
Yeah, so one of them is at the Drake downtown. The restaurant, their logo is like a circle with a duck because the Drake is a male duck. And so I ended up making one that was a side duck, like just as a kind of play on that. And then it's also restaurants are like really stressful. So side ducks like always like freaking out. But I had like cased the place, again, going on with the heist narrative. Because I had like eaten there so many times. I knew there was one host person and I knew there was one bartender. And the night that I went, there were two bartenders and two host persons. And so the other host person was in training, so they would never leave the area. And so going along with the heist thing, one of my best friends from 20 years ago worked there as a server. And I was like, hey, can you be my inside man and just distract everyone? And so he called everyone over so their backs were to me. and then I just put it straight up in their lobby. And I was like, I usually like doing this alone, but sometimes you need an inside man.
So you do need an inside man to do a heist. That I love this, man. I think this is great. I think I think the more the merrier. Who doesn't want good art to show love to a location or a place? I mean, I think any place should be honored by it. I know I would, if I had a place, I would love for people to put art, especially that's in sandwich inspired art. So I definitely think that's badass. Another thing that you mentioned, and another thing that you started doing, I think April of 2024 you started doing, which obviously you decided to kind of like to make people kind of encourage people to kind of take a break from like the attention grabbing Instagram, and decided to kind of highlight downtown Orlando. And so you created the account Downtown Orlando POV. What made you want to create that?
Yeah, I love it. I love sharing the city. But as far as like what was the inception is obviously I've established I love food around town, and I would take videos of food and then I would like post it, and I'm like, I don't feel really happy about that. Or even if it was a good dinner, I wait on the video and a couple days later I feel like a little down or depressed, and I'm like, I don't really feel like putting that out there. I'm not happy right now. And I realized that I think a lot of people have experienced this, but with sometimes with Instagram or social media, you get the doom scroll and you see all these like negative things. And so I just gave up on it. And then so what I decided to do was post every day, even if I'm happy or not. So I don't tie if I'm posting or not to if I'm happy or not. And just motivating myself to put things out there. And as you said, like not the normal Instagram format. I usually do a 30-second video. I stand there and I just don't even move. And I'm just trying to be like a POV of like what's going on at like Lake Eola or anywhere around town. And what I'm hoping, or what I'd hope to do with that, was that if someone was doom scrolling, they would see that and just take a break, just chill out, just notice the surroundings. And I've gotten a lot of good feedback for that. And I never add any commentary. That's why I try and be like an anti-Instagram account. I don't add any commentary, and sometimes people are like, "Where is that?" And I'm like, "It's here." And they're like, "I've walked past that spot so many times, I've never looked at it the same." So what I'm trying to do as well is encourage people to like slow down and in their daily life just kind of take a look around and see what kind of interesting things they can ground themselves with and just take a breath and relax. That's one of my main goals for the account. Well,
When
I call
you
it a project, really, like an art project.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great art project. I enjoy it. I always enjoy because I always like try to see like where is he? What is he doing? When you do this, is it just at random times? Like you're basically like, I'm assuming you're not doing. You may do like a video every day, but you may. I'm assuming as the day progresses, sometimes when you're out and about, you'll see something, and it could be maybe two things occur, and you're not posting them. You're just kind of curating it, right? Like basically of those moments. But is it during a walk? Is it just when you're out and about? You're just kind of, because like the big thing is everyone's usually stuck on their phones, walking around looking and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I usually take a walk around the neighborhood, around Lake Eola at least once a day. And so it's like out and about, but kind of like with my painting, I never try and force art. So there's some days where I'll walk around and like, I want to make a content thing. And I'm like, I'm just not feeling it. And so I just don't do it. So I just kind of just do it as I see fit. And when I find like a moment of being present. And then elsewise, all of my content pretty much is like within 3 days of when it happened at most. And if it takes longer than that, I don't post it because it's kind of like a video journal to myself as well to
Okay.
remember like what was going on in my life on that day. And
I
for
love
all of the
that.
songs that I attach to them, it has like a little bit of a meaning. And I like things to be cool and uplifting for people, but I kind of also put things that are like a little bit sad, even if I'm not sad, it's just to connect with people and how they're feeling that day and just make them think a little bit.
Speaking of which, I know you have like a Spotify playlist for that, and I was kind of curious on how you decided music for the videos.
I just love music like in general, and I've been collecting different playlists on Spotify. And for like my own self, I have different moods of like if I just want to lounge, or if I'm happy, if I'm sad, if I'm partying and dancing. And so I've been doing that for like a decade, and I have like almost a full year of content on like my full account. And so it would be like impossible to listen to all of that. So I collect it from like that collection. And so when I make a video, I'll look at it like when I'm about to post, and then I just scroll randomly through my playlists until I find something that just like feels right and hits the mood. And so that's that Spotify playlist in my profile that you mentioned. That is all the music I've ever used on any of my almost like 800 journal posts, only exclusively from that. And So I really just hope people kind of enjoy that and put it on shuffle. Don't listen to it in order. And it's about 40 hours long, I think, at this point. So you could get through a full 40-hour work week if you wanted to.
That's crazy. Yeah, I love the idea of more places and more people creating playlists of their music. I actually created a playlist, a sandwich eating playlist with all the songs. And I basically, when I listen to lyrics, it's like, is this what I would be thinking about if I was eating a sandwich? Is how I would go. Or if it was like talking to a sandwich. Some of them are, I've really stretched it out. Some are very literal, but I do enjoy it. I do enjoy listening to music. I think it's just so great to be able to kind of do that. So I saw that you had that because I was like, man, these songs are so good on all these different videos that you had on the Instagram account. So I thought it was great.
One other thing I wanted to add about the POV account is how much I've tried to just make it about the city, not me. So I've never showed my face and I'm anonymous on there. And it's been inspiring to people, and a lot of people, like even Berman, The Rock is Cooking, Amy Brown, a whole bunch of other people I don't even know. They'll send in videos in my style, and it's really cool because I'm happy that I inspired them to do it. And then I like adding it to the feed to make it like an account that the city owns rather than just me. And it's been like just really inspiring when people are happy to like spend that moment. And I know that I've impacted them a little bit in how they look at the world.
I love that, man. I didn't notice, but do you use like a certain hashtag or anything like that? So if someone were to go and look, like if other people were inspired to do it, or or doing the same kind of style, like you mentioned, which obviously I love both people that you mentioned. I love both. They've both been on my podcast. But have you do they just DM them to you, or do you sometimes create like a hash? Do you have a hashtag for it? What do you usually kind of how does that work?
Part of my anti-Instagram thing is I almost never use hashtags.
No hashtags. That would make sense.
And almost no comments. And
yeah.
And so it's kind of like an if you know thing. But every once in a while I will post like a request, be like, hey guys, just a reminder, you can send things into me. This is not just me. But sometimes I'll just get them randomly from people around the city. That's awesome.
Okay.
And so again, if you know, you know.
I love that, dude. I love that. Well, I do know, and I do appreciate it. All right. So I know we talked about you creating art, and you have a few art pieces hanging in the Orlando Museum of Art. Tell me a little bit about that. Congratulations, by the way. That's awesome. How did that happen?
So basically, I was running a UCF program in combination with the National Science Foundation. And it was a $5 million grant where I got to help people who were in STEM fields and who were underrepresented and financially needy. And I would get like a cohort of them, 30 people a year. It ended up being like by the end, like 120 people, like all going to school together. And a lot of them, when I would interview them for the scholarship program, where I mentored them as well, they all felt like they were lesser than their peers. There was a question, it's like, where would you rank yourself among the other people in a program or in your classes? And almost everyone said that they were the lowest, which statistically is impossible. And I realized they had like a lot of imposter syndrome. And so I developed this like weird speech I call the Allegory of the Dung Beetle. And for viewers who aren't familiar, a dung beetle is this beetle that rolls around a pile of poop. It's like almost like its house, and he like eats off of it, and he just rolls around with it. And I thought of it because I was living at a place downtown that had a gallery below me. And again, I love art, so that really attracted me to living there. And the art would rotate every month, and sometimes it'd be really awesome. And sometimes I felt like it was like shitty. And I don't like to be mean to like any artist. It's just like a subjective thing. And people might not like my art. That's totally fine. But anyways, I was like, I'm doing art for like years and not selling it at all. And these people with art that I don't like are ending up selling it. And so with the Dung Beetle, I just thought of that those people are happy with what I think is not great art. And they're just rolling around like with a dung beetle, with a pile of poop, just happy as hell. And I'm sitting here not putting myself out into the world. So I started using that speech with my students to encourage them, like, don't worry about anyone else. Just focus on you. Even if you feel like you're not doing great right now, just imagine the dung beetle who's doing worse than you, but happy and succeed. And so a little bit after the pandemic, I had just given that speech to a group of my students, and I saw that I could apply to the museum for a specific show. And I was like, I can't make it. Like, there's no way my stuff's going to get in. And then I felt like a hypocrite because I've been telling my students that for so long. And I thought of the dung beetle, and I'm like, I'm going to compete with the dung beetle. I'm going to put myself out there. And I was super happy to get 2 pieces in for the show. Show was only up for a couple weeks. I was technically in the museum, but it still was like, and I'm even putting myself down with that wording. But it's still a really proud moment for me. And I look back and I'm like, I should have just done that sooner, and I should have just been happier with what I was doing. Does that make sense?
No, it makes total sense. Have you, because of that and that experience and that victory, have you, is it something that you're continuing obviously doing more, or wanting to apply to try to be more into the Orlando Museum and other places? And obviously I know that it's led, I believe it's led to you actually curating some shows, which we'll talk about, but I'm just kind of curious on that part of it, because you're absolutely right on the aspect of, I think when I was even reading, and you and I were talking before the show and stuff like that, you were talking about how the Dung Beetle is, and I was just reading about it, and it's so funny because it is sometimes can be maddening to feel that you're like, here's a person sometimes that is just happy with how they are, they just have the confidence and they make it happen, and then you're like, well, dude, this is like their maybe talent level or desire or whatever, but it's just because they exude that confidence to actually do it. And that's something that we're all kind of in so many ways lacking in when it comes to especially small business owners or people wanting to actually do something that have a creative art or a creative skill, and they just don't, I don't know, they just like, you hold yourself back. Mm-hmm. So when you mentioned this, I was like, man, I'm like, so freaking true, because like you always end up seeing, you're like, how are these are the people, like, I don't know, sometimes, or even like, even in the corporate world, you're like, you're like, how is this person the manager? Like they're not even that smart. I was like, how is that even possible? And like, but it's because they carry it, and they're just like, I'm going to do it. And that's it. And then like, that's how they become, and then they basically fake it till they make it sometimes.
Yeah. And I have an MBA from UCF. I know you're a college of business grad too. And so I always like look at like business strategies, and there's something called the Peter Principle. And the idea is that people in corporations get promoted to the level that they're incompetent at. So they succeed until they get to an area that they can't succeed. Like Michael Scott on The Office. He was a great salesman, terrible boss.
Yep. Yeah, makes total sense. So because of you doing the gallery and all of that in the Orlando Museum of Art, and I know you like curating art, one of the things that you did that I thought was super fun, and I know you kind of partnered with someone else, but you did the red light macaroni art show, right? Where did that idea come from, and what makes you think about curating some of these shows?
I kind of just was trying to, a lot of your content is about manifesting. And so like a quick rewind, last year I decided I'm just going to put myself out there, like with the art heists. And then I've gotten, to answer your previous question, I've gotten in a few shows myself, like just as like a single participant of a group show. I'm just like trying it and just like going for it basically. And so with those paintings, I was sending them to you throughout the year. And I'm like, I don't even know if this is going to end up being anything, but I'm just going to go for it anyway. And then here we are, talking like 12 months later. So back to the macaroni show, just feeling confident in myself. I was painting at home with my girlfriend Joy, and she was making some type of noodles. And as I was painting this, like really like to me, like a kind of like a fancy painting, it reminded me of macaroni art from when we were kids, a pretty shared experience for almost everyone. And I was like, why don't I paint with macaronis? And I'm like, well, that's childish. And then I was like, how about I do it? And Joy's a painter too. I was like, how about we do it and just do it like with the skills we have now as adults and how far we've come, and try to make it really creative. So that's how Joy and I came up with the idea is, let's take that old format, just get weird with it, and just kind of spray paint a whole bunch of macaronis, do acrylic, a whole bunch of glue, and then just kind of reached out to Red Light. I was thinking of like a few different venues, and Red Light was the first and only one I reached out to. And I was like, hey, this is kind of weird, but would you guys be cool hosting this show? And so again, with the theme of just not holding myself back, I was like, I'm going to go for it. It's kind of silly. And the owner, Erica, she loved it. And I immediately, before she even said yes, I immediately just started reaching out to different artists that I know, people I've randomly met, people that I've known for a while. And I was like, hey, this is kind of weird, but would you want to do macaroni art? And so I got a lot of really positive responses, and so like that's how it happened, and it was an amazing show, and they kept the art up for a couple months before they had like a new show have to come. It was super satisfying.
How many artists did you end up having on the show?
I think it was 13. Josh Hokkaido Hank actually had a piece in there too, and going along with his sheriff theme, he made like a little like cowboy out of noodles, a whole 3D thing.
And wasn't it like really a cowboy awesome western or something like that? It was like a spaghetti western or something.
Spaghetti western, yeah exactly. And it was really awesome to see with that simple format how different all of the pieces came out from different people of how they interpreted it. And it was just really amazing. And at the show, it was really cool that a lot of people came up to me and they were like, Orlando needs more weird things like this. And
I agree.
Can be uncomfortable sometimes, but weird is also fun and like breaks you out of like your normal modality. And it was super cool. And one of the most flattering things was at the end, Erica said the show went great and everything. She asked us, when are we going to do the next one? But she learned that Joy and I had never curated a show before, and she was like super surprised. And I was like really happy. I took that as like a huge compliment that she trusted me so much to be able to host that show.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I know Chef Jess also did a piece as well as one of the artists, which I think is great. Yeah, man, I think I love stuff like this. I love, and I agree with it. I do think that when you do things like this, it's memorable, it's fun. That's the beauty of what we and sometimes we take ourselves a little too serious. And sometimes if you can use your skills to do like a fun theme, I think it's fantastic to be able to see and be able to do that. And then places like Red Light are great because they harness all of that. They want to be able to kind of do those things. And I think that's so important to create that community aspect of it as well, to be able to kind of have all the people in there. So I definitely think that's it's something that I think is very special. It's funny because so a lot of times people will ask me, and I know like, Sean Don, like he and I met, ironically, we met, and I was like, I was trying to think back. I know we met because I was in line to get bows at Lake Eola, and I remember going and asking you guys, and I was just making conversation, and I was like, hey, what do you guys have you guys eaten here? What do you recommend? And you gave me some good recommendations because we were like going and grabbing a bunch of food, like there was different food trucks and stuff there, and we just kind of had a conversation, and then it just kind of been like that for like the last year or so. And it's been great because like I'm loving what you've created with the idea of like not only your regular art, but also the fact of what you're trying to do with the downtown Orlando point of view. I think it's such a great idea when it comes to that. And it's been a lot of fun being able to just kind of, interact and chat with you and kind of see where you're kind of going, along the course of the year, which has been a lot of fun.
Definitely. Yeah, it was awesome because it was packed at Lake Eola that night. And you were like, can we share this table? And I'm like, I always feel that people should always share a table. And I was like really welcome. So it was like kismet that we like hit it off.
Yeah, man. No, it was meant to be. With that being said, what do you want to put into the universe for you and your art?
I want to keep up my momentum and stop doubting myself and just keep on being weird. And I want to host another show this year. I want to start doing art instruction, like events, like kind of like, events for people to gather together who aren't confident about their art and kind of teach them that they have the skills because everyone's got it in them. You got to do it. And so I just want to manifest just continuing to helping people, helping myself. And it's a whole cycle that feeds into itself to help myself and others.
No, man, I think that's so important. And I think that there is I've seen a huge influx of in real life stuff, the analog, not of people being able to actually meet up and do things and do activities together. And then I think it's so important to be able to do that type of stuff. And I think it's just so important to be able to find places that you can kind of go and do those things. I also think that the entry level of like the entry point of being able to be like, hey, want to try something? Why don't you just come and come try it with me? And just see if you like it, because sometimes obviously that's the entry point. Sometimes it's so difficult that sometimes people feel overwhelmed and not know. But if there's someone that actually knows what they're doing and wants to be like, hey, I'll help you with this. I think it's a great idea to be able to kind of do. I definitely would be interested to see what your next idea is for an art show. Obviously, if you ever want to do a sandwich art show, I'll manifest that out. by all means, I'd love to work with you and figure something out because you know, there's enough sandwich art, or at least I enjoy a good sandwich art. So you know, if
Definitely.
anything, I would definitely would be curious to see what people create. But we
We've
could
got
definitely talk
something in the
about that.
pipeline for that, so I'll let you know.
Really?
And if I could throw one last anecdote in and
Yeah,
make it
yeah,
full
yeah.
circle
Please.
with like manifesting. One of the artists I reached out to, her at is at Kicking Cones, and I asked her if she wanted to be in. And she was like, "Cool, but can my girlfriend join?" And I was like, "Yeah, totally." And she was like, "Well, my girlfriend's not an established artist, and she's worried about that." And I'm like, "There's no entry cost to this or anything." So she's an artist, and she helped her girlfriend make something as well. And it was two pairs of cats, their cats, and it kind of represented themselves. And again, with the noodle art. And so it ended up actually selling both of them to a couple who goes to Red Light a lot. And they said that they always would eat there and see that and just feel like it represented themselves and it was cute. So, anyways, this person went from not feeling confident enough in being in a show to being accepted and then literally selling in her first show. And I find that to be like a really beautiful moment. Like, and I'm glad that I was part of that experience.
Sean, are you, because of the moments and you taking the time to stop, you know, obviously with the Instagram, stop and kind of take in the moment, are you also taking in the moments of like of all these victories and like keeping journaling, keeping it somewhere to kind of go back to? Because I always keep going with this because we tend to forget, and I feel like we have like a short-term memory type thing. And I've said it before in the sense that even like in like my corporate world, like when they go like, what have you done this year in your yearly review, and you like, I don't know, I don't remember what I did and what I did 6 months ago. So like so one of the things that I've learned to, and at least this year I could safely say that I've really tried make an honest effort, is the victories. I'm like writing down the victories because I feel that sometimes we kind of lose sight of those things because we're so good at like we're so good at not being the Dung Beetle and just kind of doubting ourselves and not taking a chance or just saying I'm going to do it. And so do you do things like that where like the victories of like the little wins, or just and you know, and kind of annotating them or keeping them somewhere so you can kind of go back and recollect them, you know, when you're having a tough time or even at the end of the year?
Yeah, for the Downtown POV, that's kind of a journal for me anyways, and it's semi-permanent, and I should have been saving them from the beginning, and I'm at like 800 by now, and so I'm like gonna have to waste a whole day saving them, compiling them. But I try to be like really in the moment, and so if like for instance, like the day we met up, I could literally just go there and find like the video. Like I just try to like really like rehearse with myself. So I do keep annotations like with the art heists. I didn't do that until like 8 months in because I was like, wait, where did I put them? And I had to like keep a list. But what I try to do is just kind of when I go on my walks and try to stay present, I remind myself of those victories. And then anytime that I'm worried about not having another victory, I psych myself up by working back in my head and then going back in time of no, I did this, and I've like memorized every show so that I've been in. I should write it down, but just trying to be present and remember is kind of like what my method is.
Yeah. Do you, when you go for your walks, are you, since you love music, are you listening to music or not listening to music?
Almost always listening to music.
Okay.
Yeah. And I
Do
try
you
to like,
ever,
not read my phone even or like read news stories or anything. Just get inspired by like music, and then it's almost like I'm doing my own soundtrack for watching people walking around.
yeah. Yeah. What about, and I'm just curious because I'm not very good at this and I'm trying to get better at this. Do you take
Sure.
any moments of silence? Like where you actually just sit in silence?
I do actually. So I might even be, you might spot me like sitting on a bench and I'll have my headphones in, but I did turn off my music and I'm just listening to people walk around, their families laughing and chatter, ducks and swans making honks and stuff like that. And then I'll walk back home and I realize I'm walking through the front door and I'm like, I haven't been listening to music for like 15 minutes now.
Yeah.
And I still have them in.
Yeah. No, I love that, man. I love that. Yeah, that's something that I've been trying to be more of, just because sometimes I wonder if the noise, like I enjoy listening to music, and even now, like when I go for walks, I'll just do like lo-fi, like some lo-fi walking, like so just so that there's just some kind of, but then I also will sometimes not do it just so that I have just silence and or just hear what's out around, because I feel like sometimes I get lost in my own, I can get lost. I don't know. It's one of those things where I notice like, and I guess a lot of that I'm also trying to figure out because of how your creative process is. Cause sometimes for me, it's like, it's the in the shower moment. You're right. Like I'm in the shower and like the water and there's no sound or anything. It's just water hitting. And like your like brain will just kind of like start thinking. So I was just kind of wondering like if your creative process is like that, or if there's also the aspect of just you walking around listening to music, kind of like, well, kind of your mind kind of goes and wanders and starts coming up with these ideas of like, you know, art projects and things like that.
Yeah, so I try and have like a mix, and like I totally get the shower moments. That's like really common, and those shower moments, like you're alone, but you still have that sensation of the water hitting you,
Mm-hmm.
and it's sort of like when you're just about to go to sleep, or you're just waking up. Your brain hasn't gotten too busy with all the things you have to do for the day, or at the end of the night worrying about, did I do this right? Did I say something wrong to someone? And that's what's cool about like you're saying, not listening to anything. You feel the breeze, and that's kind of like the water hitting you in the shower. You see leaves falling. And the more I can like distract myself and watching birds fly around or walk around, waddle, those moments is what jolts me out of like my day-to-day thinking, and then gets me like creative for like art or my writing, like novels and just ideas, and just taking a moment really.
Okay, so you
So I hope
mentioned
you get better at that. Keep practicing.
I am, man. I'm trying. And I will say it has helped because the creative ideas that I'm coming up with are very different than what I've done in the past, and it's just fun. And I just think it's a fun thing. So you mentioned, I just heard you say something about novels. So what kind of novel are you writing, or what kind of writing do you do? So obviously, you know, like, so let's encompass all of the artistic forms that you're harnessing and doing. What are you writing about?
Sure, I'll put it out there. My idea is Orlando based. I keep hitting that same note, but I love the city.
I love it, dude.
And slightly futuristic literary fiction. Basically, Orlando's kind of like a small city, but with global warming, I just imagine the tides are going to rise, and Orlando is just going to be the only place you can live, and it'll get super packed and super busy. But the idea of the story is that there's a medicine called Reserva that can stop your aging forever, or at least for once a year, and you could just stay the same age, which sounds really cool and would really help people and be really good. But in a lot of ways, things get ruined in our society with profit. So then it would be too expensive for normal people to afford. And then you would only be able to get a job if you looked like 25 or under. And those people are like 50, but still look 25. And then the idea is one woman goes for her treatment, and she finds out that it's not working, and she's probably going to die within a week and just rapidly age. And basically, the old head of the company, who got kicked out because he didn't want to make profits, he finds out about it and wants her to do a reverse heist. So full circle, reverse heist a solution into the medical facility that she works at, so that other people don't get that same problem where they just revert or hyper age and die.
Wow.
So that's the hook.
That's good. That's like
It's-
movie.
it's-
That's like good book, good movie. I can see all of that.
I appreciate that, man. And
Very,
it goes
very
with
cool,
like
man.
the different isms of society, like racism, ageism, and just how we structure ourselves and hurt ourselves through trying to do our best, but then letting things get ruined. But I appreciate it.
Love that.
Thanks
No,
for
man,
asking.
that's for sure, for sure. Yeah, you gave me that. I was like, whoa, I didn't know about this. Let me find out. Let me ask. What advice do you have for someone wanting to start something?
I'll segue with the writing. Is that one of my, like when I do research, when I don't know how to write, I look up like inspiration from other people, and a lot of different directors, screen writers, like Tarantino will say this. He says, "Make something that you would want to watch. Make art that you would enjoy." So as far as starting something, don't worry about other people's perceptions. Don't let people give you good or even bad advice. Make something that you would want to watch. So the book that I'm talking about, I can't wait to read it myself. And so I'm making it for myself, and then just trusting that other people will like it. So if you want to get something started, do something you want to do, and just get rid of all of the other factors.
Dude, that's some really sound advice, and it's very true because I mean, again, I started a clothing brand because I wanted sandwich themed clothing. I just love sandwiches and I wanted something different, and I wear graphic tees. So I'm like, this will be a great idea. So, yeah, no, I get it, man. I get it.
Yeah.
Super sound idea, super sound advice. Just good stuff.
Awesome. Yeah, and again, you're living it. We're living it, and I hope other
Yeah.
people do too. If you're making
And that's what
food,
I want.
make the food you want to eat.
Yep. Exactly. Exactly. No, man, I appreciate that. So since we both love Orlando so much, I want to throw an extra universe manifestation. What do you want for Orlando? Orlando manifestation. Do you have anything that you want to give out for what you want for Orlando?
Yeah, one thing that I kind of noticed, like when people move into my building and they're new to the city, I'm like so excited to tell them about what different like kind of food to eat and things like that. And a lot of people think that Orlando is the parks, but there's so many really cool pockets of like actual culture going on. But, like Red Light is an awesome hub, and I like telling people about different art events that are going on around town. And I think people don't know what cool things are out there, and just kind of just assume it's like the parks. So if I could manifest something for Orlando, is that people kind of connect with each other, make random connections, have conversations with strangers like how you and I met, and just kind of put yourself out there and don't feel like being so scared of the city. I feel like a lot of people are intimidated by it, but there's a lot of beauty, and that's why I try to put that out there with my downtown POV videos too.
I love that.
Does that hit your question?
Yeah, that totally does. Totally does. But where can people follow you? Where can they support? Drop in. Well, obviously, it'll be in the show notes, but drop in there where how they can, if they're listening as they're listening to us, Instagram wise, where can they follow you? Where can they see your art? Where can they do Downtown Orlando POV? Give them all the details.
So my personal art account, I don't have a store yet, but you can DM me. I have a whole bunch of art on there that anyone can buy, and I post like almost every day on there too. So that's at SeanDon, SeanDon _art. My last name's Donovan, and I got that nickname years ago from college when the Snoop Dogg song "Rolling on My Wrist" and I'm pulling Sean Don. So SeanDon _art, and then elsewise the POV account, downtown full word, Downtown Orlando POV. And I really hope that someone, at least one person who watches this, takes a short video in my style, sends it to me, and I'll represent you, and just we build a community together.
It's so good because what I usually will take a video version of that when I go to the beach, but I never think to do it when I'm out and about, like in the city or just walking around in Orlando. So I definitely will go about doing that more often and being more, think about it when I go, because I do it every time I go to the beach. I pretty much like, it's an automatic thing. I just sit there because I'm like, it's a moment of Zen type of thing almost. This is kind of how I take it as. Seeing the water and the listening to the water and the waves and everything, which is the same exact thing you're doing. I also love the fact that you're doing 30 seconds of it, because sometimes I'll do like 15 seconds of it or 10 seconds of it, but 30 seconds does give you get you into a place to actually be able to kind of like, okay, yeah, I feel it. I got you.
Well,
Very
I'll
cool,
be on
man.
the lookout, and then I'll be on the lookout for people in the city doing it too.
Yeah, for sure, man. For sure. I love it. SeanDon, I really appreciate you and I getting a chance to meet and get to have you on the podcast. I think this is great. This is that's our show for today. Definitely make sure to check out SeanDon art. Make sure to check out Downtown Orlando POV. Harness that inner Dung Beetle, man. Like that, like it's like, harness that, like be it's almost kind of like happy as like pig and shit, you know what I mean? Like it's kind of like that whole idea. Yeah. Like own it, be happy with what you've created and what you are, and and harness that thing, and
Definitely.
And I love the analogy of it, and I think it's something that it's kind of like silencing your inner critic, or if you're, and we'll say, because we're in Orlando, like whatchamacallit, there's a movie and it's like Silencio Bruno, where he like that's what he calls his inner voice of, like when he talks negatively, to tell that inner voice to shut up and do what you're passionate about and what you love. So I definitely I think it's great, man. I think it's great what you're doing. I will too manifest that you get to do some art installation, some art projects, and for people to be able to kind of do some stuff with you. I think it'll be a lot of fun. We'll definitely talk more, because I definitely want to do something with you, maybe some form of sandwich art curation for maybe a gallery thing. Any way I can help, I think, and any way I can help in general, just let me know.
Got you.
For sure, man. For sure. Thanks for SeanDon for being on. Make sure to check them out online. Make sure to subscribe if you like the show. If this inspired you, share the episode with someone. I think it's so important for people to be able to hear these episodes, especially if something, something caught your attention and you're like, hey, I really think I'm thought of this person and they need to hear it. Sometimes you just need to hear it from someone else. If you want to support my brand, check out Deli Fresh Threads. And thank you until next time. Keep eating sandwiches and follow your passion. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.